most of you here I've seen have been on Ktunaxa or Ktunaxa. Those are online social networks or tools, parts of social networks I've been using to try and figure out, provide graphical proof that our way of life, our language and culture, that thing that's all wrapped up together, that can't really be separated. After hundreds of years of contact and 100 years of policies designed to make our language and culture simpler, less able to survive, less powerful, less precise, there's this thing that we're doing where we're constantly regenerating. You can look at the early data from our site, and it shows a lot of random conversations. It's like on Facebook. Random conversations on Facebook are things like, hey, I'm in town, do you want to go to Lucky Star? Yeah, I want to get Chinese food. Those are not really crucial to the culture. They might be crucial to Lucky Star or to my feelings about ginger beef, but they're not really that important for the culture as a group. Over time, over even the first 2 months of either one of those sites, some interesting things started to happen. We got not just posts, but conversations back and forth. Some of them with as many as 12 people contributing, measured in thousands and thousands of words. That doesn't really happen on Facebook unless people are arguing. Research that I did early on for my dissertation with Melanie's support and Herman and some of the other people that I did interviews with, we took all of the conversations, all of the statements, and we mapped out how many words they were. In other words, we wanted to know how long of a conversation they were. Some of them were 2 or 3 words, and there were a whole bunch that was maybe one sentence, 10, 15 words, and then at the very end, there was this really big spike. There were 12 conversations that were over 2,000 words, and the longest conversation was 8,000 words. Schaefer's work, which has kind of been the definitive, this is who Kootenays are, is just a little bit longer than that 8,000 words. This is one person who did interviews. He took that information, he took it out of its context, and he sent it somewhere, and someone asked me why it's on the spinning thing. Research in our communities becomes this thing that goes somewhere else, and it's in a museum in Ottawa or at the Smithsonian, and it's fancy and it's pretty, and it's just the things that other people want to see. The context is gone, the nuance is gone. They're like Lego pieces. Somebody liked this part, and a sturgeon nose canoe, and a birch basket, and they take them somewhere else, and they end up like that. Someone else asked, why do we have these? Geez, I seen some of you studying like it was going to be a test. Going through, my dad's highlighting things and pointing, and he wants to know how to pronounce things. This process between now and dinner tomorrow night is moving from this into this process of putting materials in people's hands. Getting people not just reading them and taking them home and making them for me, but making them for everyone. Because we're going to even take just this one 3-page document, and we're going to try and start figuring out what things there are important to the group. When we took all those conversations, all of these conversations that were really short, weren't about the culture. They weren't what we called critical. They were things like, do you want to go to the movies? Or it's raining today. The kinds of things that you see on social networks. These ones that had thousands of words over weeks of time, every single one of them, 100% of them, were all about critical cultural issues. Language morphology. Why is it that I say blue is this in this community, but they say it's something else there? Indian names was the biggest one. People wanted to know about Indian names. And we all know what it's like to go to a public meeting and ask about names. It gets real awkward. And everybody looks around, and pretty soon they all look to the oldest person in the room And that oldest person in the room then feels a little bit on the spot. But when we did this online, we had 17 people sharing almost 10,000 words about Indian names and why they're important. Border crossing and implications of the border on our culture had about 4,000 words. So that should tell you something right there. When we do it online, we can do this amazing community building. But when we try and do it as a group of people in a room, there's this thing called Godfrey's Law, which says you get enough people together and eventually they'll all start arguing about something. Go to YouTube, watch even your favorite video. Even watch a video that's inspirational and then read the thread afterwards. And within 10 posts, they're already arguing. Someone is swearing, someone is threatening someone else, someone is... They never go good. It's called Godfrey's Law. On our community building sites, that didn't happen. There was a little bit, there were a couple of people that routinely just criticized, just said things were wrong, and killed those conversations. You know, early on our language, the Facebook language page, you would get 11 posts about something really cool, and you'd get the font, and then you'd get one person that would talk about, you know, the Bible or something, and then that's it. It was done. Nobody ever went back to it. When we started to have those boundaries a little bit about, this is our site for our language. For those of you that were part of Ktunaxa, you know to get your account you had to agree you were going to contribute, you weren't going to be offensive, and that the language was more important than any one person and you would contribute to it. Going into it, we had a different mindset. And those conversations were qualitatively different. Even if you get 20 friends together. I was looking at my brother who had something on Facebook about a new gaming platform or something. And it evolved into an argument. And I just thought, man, that's crazy. Because I've looked at your posts on the other sites, and it just doesn't ever do that. It doesn't really get there. So, as a leadership theorist, my interest is in finding out what those difficult dynamics are. Why is it that every single AGM ends the same way? That's why I don't go to them. I went to my first AGM in like 1994 and it ended with an argument. And then I went to the one this year and it ended in an argument. And I thought, oh, that's why I don't come to these. My dad always wants to know, hey, are we going to the AGM? And I always say, yeah, I might be there, but I know I'm not going.
You were thinking it went to you?